Welcome to our semifinal matchup here at Autumn Challenge 5 here as Chico Rivera, California, Psycho Turbo plays. Welcome you in once again to the live stream. I'm Jesus Coronel, that is Dennis Geisler. Our first semifinal matchup and the only one we'll be showing on stream going to be Arnie Wolf and Shane Gaffney. And the storyline here, only one former champion remains in this top 4 bracket. Arnie going to have the team of Ursulina Bloodmoon, Talonflame, Tatsugiri Curlyform, Dondozo, Sneasler, and the male Indeedee. Shane on the Vascular Legion male, Ursulina Bloodmoon, Rillaboom, Electabuzz, Sneasler, and King Gambit. And the reason I say there will be likely a new champion is because only Arnie in this top 4, between himself, Shane, and then the other one, which is Dina and Haley, have won a tournament here.
Yeah, and I am intrigued. We do have the Dondozo here. We could get the Dondozo mirror in finals, which could be a pretty fun one there. That would be if Arnie and Haley both won. But as far as this matchup right here, I mean, obviously you immediately are drawn to what can Shane do about Dondozo. Bloodmoon is great against Dondozo. Rillaboom has the super effective damage, unless Dondozo goes for the Terastal. There are plenty of other decent options here, although actually it's fewer decent options than I thought. It might just be the Bloodmoon, assuming that Dondozo is able to Terra at will.
Well, we're going to see what's going to happen in this game. Shane's going to lead the Sneasler and Rillaboom, so that's going to activate the Unburdened Grassy Seed once again from Shane, but we see Arnie on the Talonflame with Ursa in the Bloodmoon lead, so we've seen this from Abu before in round 5.
We saw this exact matchup out of Abu and Shane.
The difference is, this is dual wing beat instead of Brave Bird, which, for one, will keep the Gale Wings intact if it doesn't get hit, but it's going to do less damage because Sneasler obviously has better defenses because of that Grassy Seed, but also, dual wing beat's 40 power per hit.
It's dual wing beat Terra Stellar, although at the same time, Talonflame is...
And Shane's going off with the Terra immediately. But onto who? It's the Sneasler, and it's going to Stellar Terra.
Yeah, I do like that if you're just trying to get as much damage down as possible. I think I might just want to try to knock out the Ursaluna here, which would be a pretty big opener.
And Ursaluna's going to protect this first turn.
We're not going to get to.
Let's see what the Talonflame does here in this turn. Nope, it's going to be a fake out. But that is a Cobra Cloak. But so that the only thing that it did here is break the Gale Wings. So in comes the Dire Claw boosted by the Stellar Terra, which knocks out the Talonflame before it gets tailwinded up.
That's super smart for Shane then, actually. A really, really good play. I mean, Ursaluna got to do nothing because it was protecting, and the fake out. I mean, that's the thing, is that the fake out into the Talonflame, I think, is a little underrated. A lot of people don't really think about it because the breaking the Gale Wings and being able to put it back on normal speed tier terms is probably about as... I mean, it's not as good as just Fake Out in general, but it's about as good as anything Rillaboom could have done that turn.
Yeah, and it forces Arnie in a very peculiar position because, well, you gotta... you see the Dondozo here, meaning that it's pretty likely that this Sneasler and Rillaboom might have to deal with Dondozo in the full commander mode once Tatsugiri enters the fray, and that's probably going to be happening as Ursaluna switches out. And once this Tatsugiri comes in, it's a matter of time before this Dondozo goes down. But it's in a tough spot because, first of all, Dire Claw's still a threat. Second of all, this is a Terra Grass Rillaboom, which, I mean, obviously you can't terrestrialize the grass, but the Sneasler can just go right coaching Woodhammer.
Yeah, and I mean, the question is whether Terra or no Terra.
Yeah, the Terra. Yeah, the Terra is basically if you want to go against the Sneasler instead of the Rillaboom, and Arnie's opting to deal with the Sneasler rather than the Rillaboom.
Which I think is... I mean, yeah, I think it's probably easier to take out the Sneasler right now. The problem is that if the Sneasler did go for a Dire Claw right now, it is still certainly faster.
Still super effective as well. That's going to be a decent amount of damage here, and a sleep on the Dire Claw!
Alright, well, that's going to change things.
So Dondozo's going to take a first mandatory turn of sleep here. Rillaboom is going to launch a Woodhammer into what was the Ursaluna.
Yeah, but I think it doesn't matter all that much. I mean, we'll see... The thing is, the problem is going to be the Dire Claw is still going to do pretty okay damage to Dondozo, and frankly, I think at this point the Sneasler could even just go for a close combat. I think it might do better damage.
I mean, it's going to do better damage the first time because, well,
Yeah,
Stellar
'cause you got
Terror
the
boost.
Stellar boost, so you might as well just. Do
I still think I think you're better off holding on to that Stellar Terror boost because you have a good way to deal with Ursaluna. You just want to guarantee that gets KO'd, right?
I mean, yeah. At some point, at some point, Dondozo will break out and probably just click Order Up and knock out the Sneasler in like one hit.
And there comes King Gambit in place of the Rillaboom, excuse me, and there goes the close combat, as you said. It's going to do a lot more damage the first time around, just gets it under half, and it's going to lower the defenses. Not that it minds, because Dondozo is unaware of those defense drops.
Yeah, exactly, and
it's take a second turn to sleep.
Yeah, well, and frankly, it was unaware of the boosted defense anyways, so it didn't really matter. But I guess the question here, I think if you're Arnie, you actually want to protect here. Yeah, you want to protect and try to break out here, stall one extra turn, get your 2 types of healing. I think the best case scenario for Arnie, and I don't think you're going to get there, because the thing is, the Rillaboom switched out, which means the Rillaboom is going to be able to switch back in and weaken that Dondozo Earthquake damage.
Yeah, and it's just like, or Shane switches up to King Gambit, probably back to Rillaboom for fake out pressure, which totally makes sense to do, because if Dondozo this just means it doesn't matter if Dondozo wakes up this turn. And it does not wake up this turn, so effectively, Arnie lost the turn, because now you have fake out pressure once again. Yeah,
although, I mean, it doesn't really matter, because Arnie can click Protect again.
Yeah, but what changes?
I mean, you don't take as much damage. If you protect, then you don't take as much damage, which would be pretty nice. Yeah. So,
I mean, we all knew that was happening. It was a 3-turn sleep. It's the maximum time of returns you could take a sleep. So
you could have gone one more.
When have we ever seen a 4-turn sleep?
It's mathematically possible. I don't know what do you want from me? Like at this point. So at this point, you have to hope that Dire Claw doesn't sleep you again.
I think the best case scenario for Arnie is that Dire Claw paralyzes, because you're taking damage from poison, and also you're just taking damage from Dire Claw in general.
I mean, the goal would be for Dire Claw to do nothing to you, because I think what you want to do right now is just hit what's that Pokemon called? Sneasler? Hit it with Order Up and try to do as much damage as possible.
Or Earthquake, because, well, first of all, actually, unaware, and the Grassy Terrain's gone.
Yeah, actually, Shane, I think, misplayed that a little bit by switching out the King Gambit so early, because you want to be able to switch back in the Rillaboom here, because now, yeah, Sneasler drops to Earthquake right now.
Here's Dire Claw.
Unless Dire Claw
That's a crit!
Okay, yeah, unless it crits also.
That'll do it. That'll do it. That's also going to be a big wood hammer into the Tatsugiri slot, which is not going to appreciate, because one, it's Miracle Seed. Second of all, it's neutral because of the Water Dragon typing. If this knocks out, this is well beyond over. Will it knock out? Yes, it will.
I think we're going to go to game number 2. Arnie is going to ignore those things that happened for his own sanity and go to game number 2. That was, I mean, I don't think Shane played it badly by any means, and there is a degree to which in Pokemon you create your own luck, but Dire Claw sleep into Dire Claw crit against Dondozo is about the most about the worst thing that could have happened to Dondozo that game.
Yeah, and also here comes the coaching boost for this Woodhammer. This is going to knock out the Ursaluna, and this will force the game 2 in Shane's favor.
Sure will. I guess Arnie at least can play out the first turn a little differently, because that certainly went extremely in Shane's direction, with the Talonflame getting knocked out without being able to do anything, and Ursaluna not doing anything in turn. There is a world where that turn goes differently, like there's no Protect on Ursaluna, and the Blood Moon goes into Sneasler, and suddenly the Dire Claw is out of the way, which makes for a completely different game.
But even so, that Dondozo ultimately did nothing. I mean, obviously, luck played a part of it, but what was the Dondozo even supposed to do? Because in that situation, you either going to take a lot of damage from Dire Claw, or you're going to take a lot of damage from Woodhammer.
I mean, if you're terastallized, then you're not taking that much damage from Woodhammer. You click Order Up a couple of times. I mean, the big thing is to get Sneasler out of the way. And that was the big issue, is that Arnie had a setup on turn 1 that he thought would get Sneasler out of the way.
But he didn't, because Fake Out broke the Gale Wings.
But he didn't. And so I think the same lead is honestly fine. The same 4, I think, is honestly fine for Arnie. Because I think the Dondozo probably just wins if... Not just wins, but it's able to get a lot of work done if the Sneasler is out of the way, and I think that lead is able to get Sneasler out of the way. We'll see if that's what Arnie decides to go for, but...
Yeah, because, like, the thing that really led Arnie to the path of his loss was the Gale Wings being broken off turn 1, which...
Yeah.
That was the big one, because...
I mean, the Gale Wings being broken immediately was part of it, but it was also the fact that Ursaluna protected there.
Yeah, because it was expecting either a Woodhammer or close combat.
Yeah. So, I don't think leading the same thing is a terrible decision, although obviously there were there was a lot going on that turn 1, and Shane can obviously change things up and mess up Arnie.
All right, game number 2 here, and Shane's going to switch it up a little bit here with the Basque Legion plus Ursaluna lead. Arnie once again switching up for his own sake. It's going to be indeed Sneasler.
Yeah,
that's going to activate Unburden for the Sneasler.
Yeah, and I would have been interested to see what would have happened if Shane had gone with the same lead as the previous game, but I think Arnie has to be reasonably happy with how this has gone, because Sneasler with Unburden is absolutely going to outspeed the Basque Legion, even with Choice Scarf, and there is only the King Gambit on Shane's side that will block the Expanding Force, which is totally fine if you are Arnie, because even if the King Gambit switches in, doing as much damage as possible to whatever else feels pretty good. And the Sneasler is Terra Stellar on Shane's side, as we saw, so not the Terra Dark, which is what Arnie has, which means that it can't do anything about Expanding Force either.
And knowing that, Dire Claw just launched into the Basque Legion. I was expecting a throat chop there onto that. I thought more likely no status effect. It's just a flip turn with the adaptability boost, which is going to take the Sneasler really low on health. Switch out to Basque Legion. Shane now has a free opening to switch in King Gambit for the Expanding Force or the Rillaboom, which will do the same thing. Yeah,
that's definitely the better call there, is the Rillaboom. And I was wondering why there was no instant switch out, and it's because of that flip turn. It was kind of dicey.
It goes into the Ursaluna, should do probably half critical hit.
Critical hit. That's good damage.
And Earth Power is going to finish off the Sneasler.
It sure will. Yeah, Shane was playing with fire a little bit there, and definitely, like, very, very easily, Shane could have lost the game off of that play, because the Basque Legion either got...
Wave Crash, or...
Well, no, either got slept by the Dire Claw and therefore wasn't able to flip turn, or paralyzed by the Dire Claw and therefore outsped by Ndidi, who could have then just Expanding Forced over both of them and probably picked up the double knockout.
That should probably show you players at home, luck is the skill.
Luck is a skill. It is. And Shane has a lot of skill with playing this one out.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes people just tell you luck is the skill. Sometimes you don't believe it because it happens like a lot terribly against you, and then you just have that.
That's the thing. You do create your own luck in some ways, but my goodness, because that's the thing as well, where it's like Arnie was kind of trying to create the luck there on that turn and just wasn't able to make it happen.
There's the fourth Pokemon from Shane. It's going to be that Electabuzz to finish off Shane's lineup. And need to get a Protect on this turn, as is Ursaluna. What did the Dondozo do here?
Dondozo, it only really makes sense for the Dondozo to protect.
Oh, Protect, and because everyone else protected, it did not Protect.
Yeah, so it's able to Protect next turn if it wants to.
I don't know if it wants to necessarily, because, like... Yes, Grassy Terrain's on, so Electabuzz is going to be surviving an Earthquake, even if you do go Commander. The problem, really, is just... Do you care if you lose your speed in trade of your defenses?
I think you... I mean, the issue with dropping your speed at all is that you want to make sure that Basque Legion doesn't come in at the end and hit you with Last Respects with like a bagillion damage. And actually, you're probably going to get outsped by Basque Legion anyways with the Choice Scarf, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But
Okay, well, Arnie's going to commit the commander, so the only thing I can see happening this turn is an order up, so
Yeah.
this is either going to be Electrolip Blood Moon, or it's going to be Follow Me Blood Moon from
Yeah.
Shane.
Although, honestly, I think an Earthquake probably would have been a decent play for Arnie, because I even though it would have been weakened, I think you probably take out the Ursaluna. I mean, if you're not comfortable taking out the Ursaluna from this range, then you're in a pretty bad spot, frankly. And I think you probably have to Terra the Dondozo here, I think. Especially...
No, Shane's going to withdraw the Ursaluna, so this probably signals Electroweb. And in comes Rillaboom again.
Yeah, I mean, given what you know is remaining on this team...
No Terra. Oh, it's faster than the Electabuzz. Launches the Wave Crash. It is enough for a one-hit knockout.
That's really big. That is really, really big, because that means that you maintain your speed. You have that doubled speed and you maintain your speed. I still think you're gonna have to Terrastalize here, but that's not a bad thing at all. And you get a lot of the HP recovery back with the Rillaboom on the other team.
Which probably signals that maybe Electabuzz' HP stats either really low, or Shane's investment towards that HP stat wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, Dondo's damage.
And now this is a peculiar position for Shane, because now all of a sudden Ursaluna's not in the best of spots, and although Basculegion has the base 100 power last respects, it's still a +2 defense!
Yeah, exactly, and I mean, it's not even a super bulked out last respects, because it's just the Electabuzz that has dropped so far, I think.
Yeah,
right?
it's base 100 right now.
Yeah, and that's not a lot of damage. And I do think at this point, because you know what's in the back here.
Yeah, what's in the back is a 75% HP Ursaluna.
I think there's no reason not to Terrastalize here on the Dondozo, because you reduce the damage from Rillaboom. The Ursaluna doesn't... The Ursaluna calculus and the Basculegion calculus don't change a ton, because Basculegion probably has to go with the last respects. So, you gotta feel pretty good if you're Arnie in this spot. Now, back at full HP with all of the HP recovery, and you know that...
Your only threat really is to Rillaboom, which is why the Terrastallation is going to happen.
Has Shane used Terra yet?
No.
Okay, then the Terra could come out, because this is
Arnie's first.
This is Arnie's first, but this is Terra Fairy Basculegion, which could be an option to try to blank an order up and try to get more damage down.
I wouldn't really know if that's what's going to come down, because order up to Rillaboom just seems safe. And no Terrastallation to come out from Shane. Yeah, that's a base 100 power order up, which didn't really do a whole lot. Order up, not enough knock at the Basculegion. So... that was a +3 attack. Here's a Woodhammer, Miracle Seed, and Grassy Terrain boosted. Yeah, not doing a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, again, if Arnie wants to, he is able to just protect, get the HP back. You know that you're the fastest one remaining here. If Shane wants to maintain... like, that's the thing, is that Shane wants to maintain the Grassy Terrain to give Rillaboom more damage.
And it's gone.
It's gone. So... But regardless, you want to maintain the Grassy Terrain to give Rillaboom more damage, but at the same time, you're healing up the Dondozo. And also, like, you want to block the Earthquake damage, because that's... I guess it's not ideal here at this point, because Rillaboom is not taking a ton of damage to it, and Order Up is just going to keep boosting the attack up, but... there's so many benefits to Grassy Terrain for Shane, but there are also so many drawbacks, as in, you end up taking a ton of damage. Or you end up giving Dondozo a bunch of HP back, excuse me.
Yeah, okay, well, we see the Switch Shot come out from this Basculegion into this Ursaluna. Another Order comes out, so Ursaluna will go down, meaning Basculegion's Master Specs is now at 150 base power. Another Woodhammer should be coming in from this Rillaboom. It will. It's just Miracle Seed boosted. It's doing less.
Yeah, it is not doing much damage here, and the Grassy Terrain can't go back up. Arnie can keep using Protect to get those leftover turns of recovery. And the thing is, we saw that Last Respects just didn't do a whole lot at 100 base power.
But now it's at 150.
I don't know that it'll do a ton at 150 either. And you do have to be concerned. I think at this point, I mean, obviously you Protect, you get your little bit of HP back. And keep in mind, I think, isn't the... Indeedee still in the back?
Yeah, Indeedee's still in the back.
Indeedee's still in the back and can just, like...
focus dash something.
Well, yeah, not only that, but like run in an expanding force.
Okay, well, that's just a big commit from Shane, so he's gonna have to rely this game on his Rillaboom.
Yeah, I think that's a surprising commitment because, I mean, otherwise I would have said Arnie could just click Earthquake just to make sure that you knock out the Basque Legion here.
That is Last Respects. That is Shane's locked move with that Choice Scarf. So at 150 base power, it's going to have to do the trick because Woodhammer once again got protected. More leftovers recovery coming in from the Dondozo. So I think the reason Shane's thinking, okay, I'm not getting any better use of Terrazzo Legion outside of potentially the Rillaboom because there's still a Tatsugiri in the mouth.
Yeah.
Last Respects at 150. That's a lot more damage than I was thinking it would, but Basque Legion will go down.
Yeah. And I think that I don't know, I could give like micro changes to what I would do in this situation. Like
you can say it. You can say it. It's called analysis.
Yeah, I'm just saying that like I don't think it's going to matter. Like if this Woodhammer crit, yeah, like if the Woodhammer crit or whatever, like then it would be down to Tatsugiri and Indeedee, and then they would still be able to deal with the Rillaboom here. A very slight difference would have just been that since you have the Indeedee in the back, you could have just focused down the Rillaboom, and if you had gotten the Rillaboom out of the way, then you just won because Basque Legion can't hit Indeedee. It doesn't really change a whole lot. I think Arnie could basically click any button on his like switch other than the power button and win game 2 here in the situation that he was at as of last turn. But
Shane's taking a lot of time to think about it. I think he's more so thinking about what to do game 3 because, well,
you get all this time to decide.
Yeah, it's just like, what does Shane have to do for game number 2? Because, well, I mean, game number 3, excuse me. Because Arnie did a real good job of just like managing his resources. Well, I mean, obviously, maybe I think ultimately the crit on the Ursaluna didn't matter in the long run. Okay, Protect failed, so Rillaboom's gonna have to turn to Protect the next turn, but I don't think it wants to be doing that anymore.
Well, yeah, and I don't really know what it would do for the Rillaboom, all things considered. Because I think this order up is probably just going to knock it out, honestly. And at least looking forward to game number 2. Shane changed things up, or excuse me, for game number 3. Shane changed things for game 2 with the lead. I'm curious how things would have played out with the Sneasler Indeedee versus Sneasler Rillaboom leads.
Yeah, this is pretty much Shane just taking his time to come up with a game plan for game 3.
Yeah, certainly.
I'm also
recalibrate a little bit.
Yeah, let's just pitch into this conversation. So, Basque Legion, it got a flip turn. It ultimately knocked out the Sneasler in a single hit, but I don't think Arnie minded.
I don't think Arnie minded all that much. Although I think ultimately, because the issue was that Electabuzz got knocked out so quickly. I think because Electabuzz was. It's not like Electabuzz was like ideal or anything against Dondozo. But
Not at all.
I think it had some of the better... I think it had a pretty decent matchup against Dondozo, all things considered, and could at least use Follow Me once to make sure that something like the Ursaluna then could get a big hit off.
Yeah, which I was thinking was going to happen to previous... And that turned Dondozo went for the Commander mode, and unfortunately, that just did not happen, as I believe Shane might have assumed his Electabuzz was faster than Arnie's Dondozo with Commander, and now that he knows that it's not... The thing just becomes, well, you could probably see it's safe to assume that the Dondozo is trained heavily in its speed and its offense.
Yeah, it is comically fast and hard hitting. So
anyway, Arnie finally won game number 2.
Arnie does pick up the win. We do see that.
We got another game 3. That's what is this? Our 6th game 3.
Game 3s in a row.
All of them except for I think round 4.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I don't hate this. I don't hate the 6 that Shane brought, but I do think that like obviously,
I think he's on a lead with Sneasler again because like that was his best pressure against a lot of Arnie's leads.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think that the lead was the problem or was the problem or a problem for Shane in game number 1. And I don't think it's a terrible decision to go back to it just because it's such a flexible lead is the thing. Like, you're able to do so much with those 2 Pokemon off the bat, and I think, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, the Rillaboom should be slower than the Indeedee. Yeah, the Rillaboom's almost certainly slower than the Indeedee, and therefore gets grassy terrain up if they both lead. so I don't really see the issue with leading Rillaboom against the Indeedee, because you get your terrain up, it doesn't get its terrain up. It doesn't really... I mean, it's not horrible for the Indeedee if it doesn't get its terrain up, but it means that you are still able to fake out, and you're still able to Grassy Glide, and you're still able to, like, keep all of your stuff moving.
And now it just comes down to this all-important Game 3, because we saw Shane in the Game 3 situation before the last round of Swiss against Abu, and it took him a lot of effort to get to that Game 3 scenario and win, because obviously hyper-offense teams are not easy to deal with. Arnie's team technically is hyper-offense, with just a mix that Dondozo should you always go for, which we do see in his perspective. He is going for a third game in a row in the back. Now, it is time for game number 3 of the semifinal here in Psycho Turtle Plays for Autumn Challenge 5. Give it up for these two obvious trainers. And Shane's going to lead Electabuzz plus Rillaboom. And Arnie's going to lead the Indeedee plus Sneasler. The second seed will go up, but the terrain will be overridden.
Yeah, it will still mean that Sneasler gets to activate the Unburden, which is nice for it. I do think, and that's a big thing, one of the big reasons why Electabuzz rose so much in terms of this regulation is
because of a Vital Spirit plus Electric type, like really mitigating the power of Dire Claw.
Yeah, it's really good against Sneasler, and so it's really nice against this lead here.
And King Game is going to switch in for this Rillaboom, eyeing a Dire Claw nose just to protect from this Sneasler. This Indeedee can only attack with Expanding Force, or is just going to protect Scout, which probably signals Electro Web from this Electabuzz, and it is.
Yeah, very interesting, like, scouting turn for Arnie, but I think Arnie really got... that was a really, really good turn to scout, because now you see the turn 1 switch, you know what the Electabuzz is going for. The big question here is, at this point, you do have to be concerned with, does King Gambit Terrastalize?
Or does Electabuzz Terrastalize?
Yeah, I mean, either one, like, if you try to close combat, you want to close combat both of them, but if either one of them close combat, or either
there's
one
Chain
of them
Terra.
Terrastalize, yeah. This could be really, really good or really,
it's
really
King Gambit flying.
It's King Gambit, so if it was the close combat into the King Gambit, then it's bad for Arnie, but if it was not, then you have kind of burned the Terra early, which is nice.
Helping hand from Indeedee Mail on Arnie's side into the Sneasler. It's going to pump up its damage to a new level. Electabuzz protects. Well, what did the Sneasler do here in this situation? Close combat says Electabuzz!
Does close combat the Electabuzz. I'm curious now what the King Gambit's going for.
It has access to Terra Blast, and it does go for the Terra Blast. It is going to probably, yeah, it's going to knock out the Sneasler in a single hit. Down it goes!
Yeah, sure does. That's very good for Shane. That is basically 2 full turns of very complex reads. and
one of them worked.
And Shane finally got it done there. I guess on the good side for Arnie, you still have your Terra, of course. Although it's kind of awkward to play out the I still have my Terra against this King Gambit. But the thing is, the King Gambit's no longer a Steel type. So you could just go for a big ol' Wave Crash into that slot.
And we do know the Dondozo is faster than the Electabuzz under Commander, so...
Yeah, and
it's either going to prompt the Electabuzz to switch out the Rillaboom, or it could just prompt the awkward Reed scenario where you could just Wave Crash the King Gambit for free.
Yeah, I think...
And it is going to prompt the Electabuzz to switch out this time around.
Yeah, but even still, I mean, I think a Wave Crash into the into the King Gambit, it might pick up the knockout. It's a lot of damage.
Okay, Indeedee going to preserve its Focus Sash and its Psychic Terrain access to bring in Tatsugiri and bring in the Commander ability once again.
Sure will, and I mean, it comes down to how much damage does this Wave Crash do, and then what does...
Yeah, I think the better question is like...
on the other end.
I think the better question really is just where did this Wave Crash go? Because if it goes to the Rillaboom, it might do under half, and I believe King Gambit might survive 1. And where is this Wave Crash? It goes into the King Gambit! It goes into the King Gambit! Down goes the King Gambit! Down to 75% HP! It's going to take a bit of recoil damage in return, and Kowtow Cleave goes out from Shane's King Gambit, not doing a lot of damage to Dondozo. It's going to get a lot of healing.
Yeah, the fact that it was able to take the hit is really big, especially because Dondozo's kind of forced to keep clicking Wave Crash, because, I mean, you get your heal turn, of course, but it's kind of forced to keep clicking Wave Crash because it's going to have to finish off King Gambit I'm waffling a little bit because you have to find a way to knock out the King Gambit and then also knock out the Electabuzz. Like anything that can threaten the way that you play out this game. I don't know. It's gonna be kind of tough.
Okay, well, not tough for Shane because it's a switch out back into Electabuzz from this Rillaboom. So although it's going to be a big amount of healing from this Dondozo, I believe Shane still got a pretty good position because although you are getting a lot of healing back, at the expense of a Sucker Punch, you either get another attack off with King Gambit with the Counter Cleave, or you just switch out the Electabuzz back into Rillaboom.
Yeah, and I think that's
Although there is also a possibility of Electabuzz going for Follow Me, but after knowing that Wave Crash knocks out Electabuzz in a hit, I don't know if Shane wants to do that.
Yeah, I think actually Wave Crash just into King Gambit is probably fine. I guess the question here is, and honestly, I think that Dondozo probably just takes more damage than I give it credit for, because Terra Blast into the Terra Grass Dondozo.
That sounds like it should do at least under half.
It sounds like it should do a lot of damage, but like it's probably not going to do as much damage as I think it might.
Well, we are going to see the Terra Grass come out from this Dondozo, so it's up to Shane to see if the Terra Grass was predicted. And if it does, I expect it to do just under half because of how physically bulky Dondozos are with their HP and defense stats. What's going to happen this turn? Wave Crash does not read into a Follow Me, unfortunately. Down goes King Gambit. Electro Web incoming, meaning it's going to be an all-important speed drop on that Dondozo.
Yeah, and...
If it connects.
If it connects, assuming it connects.
Better recoil taken from this Dondozo from that Wave Crash. Tatsugiri can avoid this Electro Web, and Dondozo unfortunately won't be able to avoid it. Down goes one speed boost.
Yeah, and I think a cute little thing Shane could do here is taunt the Dondozo. Keep it from protecting past this point. It's not super necessary, but it could be a nice way to prevent a little bit of that lingering healing. Although if it's the Ursaluna that switches in here, it's
Ursaluna.
Yeah, this is basically the ideal spot that Shane wanted to be in to try to get the maximum damage onto Dondozo. The question is, does it actually do enough if you like Blood Moon right now?
I think the answer is no, because of... I guess the answer's up there, because one, Shane already wasted his Terra. Okay, the answer was going to be no. Grand comes Grassy Terrain again.
Yeah.
So this just comes down to whether or not Arnie read into the Electabuzz once again, because Taunt's an option. You can just go Electro Web to reset the speed boost that it gained from Commander. And the trade-off would essentially just be Electabuzz for Terrain. Taunt comes out, so no more Protects coming out from this Dondozo. Now that you know you're slower after the Electro Web drop, where did this Wake... No, it's just Earthquake. It's not going to KO anything.
Yeah. I mean, it should still be decent damage into Electabuzz. Not enough, not over half, which is a little unfortunate for Arnie. But I don't think it's a bad spot for Arnie to be in, honestly. I mean, at the end of the day, the thing that you are threatened by is Ursaluna Blood Moon's Blood Moon. Especially now that you've gotten the Terra out of the way.
Yeah, essentially Arnie doesn't have a choice in his targeting. Essentially he doesn't have a choice.
To a degree, yeah.
Oh, if this is Ursaluna getting knocked out this turn, that might be big for Shane.
Yeah, that could be pretty significant, and that's basically what happened last game.
Never mind, Fake Out comes out. I forgot that was up.
I mean, it will mean that Dondozo just heals up to full, but... I mean, the problem is, like...
How much damage are you taking from Woodhammer from a Miracle Seed and Terrain Boost plus Blood Moon and a Life Orb?
I mean, we saw the Woodhammer in the last game, which wasn't, like, overwhelming amounts of damage. The Blood Moon, I mean, the thing is, the Blood Moon basically has to, like, pick up a knockout here.
Or Shane could just be protecting the Ursaluna this turn.
Could be a protect. Could be rotating everything around to try to get this in the right position.
Yep.
Yeah. But even then, like...
The idea, I think, should be another Electro Web into the Dondozo so we can guarantee that Ursaluna outspeeds.
Yeah.
Because we do know this Ursaluna is trained very heavily in its speed and its offense as well.
Yeah, and I mean, in that case, well, and that's the problem now is that Dondozo has taken off the taunt, so you are able to protect between turns to get a little bit of extra healing, and that's, I mean,
or you can, or nullify a Blood Moon. Instead, no taunt comes out. It's just Follow Me. How much? What's going to happen this turn? I think Dondozo's still faster. It's going to knock out the Electabuzz for that range, so it's going to be Rillaboom plus Ursaluna versus Dondozo, Tatsugiri, and Indeedee. So terrain control is going to be in Arnie's favor.
Yeah.
The second part is like how much damage is this Ursaluna going to do? It's Hyper Voice, so definitely I to protect that turn. How much damage? That's a critical hit! And I think that means Shane has terrain control now!
Yeah, that should actually mean that as well. That is, another rough crit onto the Dondozo for Arnie.
Alright, the turn should play out like this. Indeed activates Psychic Terrain, and then once that activates, Rillaboom's slower in the speed truck. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Rillaboom comes in first because Electabuzz is faster than Dondozo.
Yeah, the Electabuzz was faster, so Arnie does get the terrain, which
but does it
nice.
stick? Does it stick? Because I believe Rillaboom should be able to get it. I think it should.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Fake Out's available. That's the big thing against this Indeedee, because it has a Focus Sash, Tatsugiri is Choice Scarf, meaning it's got to lock into a move. I think it's okay, the mind game. Who does Shane fake out?
I think you have to fake out the Tatsugiri because the only way you lose this game is if Tatsugiri, Muddy Waters.
Here's Helping Hand to make sure that the Tatsugiri gets some damage in. Where does the fake out go? It goes into the Tatsugiri! Yeah. It's gonna take some damage. It's not gonna move this turn. Where does this Blood Moon go? This is Tatsugiri!
Yeah, that's really the correct play out for Shane there, and I think knowing that was the correct play, I think you had to try to get a little bit of damage down on Ursaluna, but I don't think you would have been able to get there. I don't think there was the damage there for Arnie to win it regardless with Shane playing it out like that.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I think the game has to tell you about the critical hit more than anything. Grassy Glide into this Indeedee, gets it down the Focus. That's just how much damage this Rillaboom does. And because of the damage output, and because of how this Indeedee's not going to be able to do a lot of damage, this Expanding Force not being terrain boosted, it's going to survive, and we're going to have a new Gym Challenge champion as Shane moves to finals.
Very, very interesting set that we had there. The critical hit Hyper Voice, pretty meaningful.
As was the Dire Claw earlier.
As was the Dire Claw in game number 1. And I mean, as much as game number 1, I think could have still gone either way, regardless of the Dire Claw or the critical hit or anything of the sort. I do think that that game was certainly decided by by that Hyper Voice crit.
Yeah, I think without a Hyper Voice crit, Ursaluna would have gone down to the Wave Crash, and we would have been seeing a much different game. Indeedee with terrain, Tatsugiri with a chance to attack. I mean, obviously Muddy Water could have missed, but we didn't even get to get that far.
Yeah, but hey, I mean, Shane won the game in the Pokemon game. It said Shane won, and that's what matters.
Yeah, and as we said, this will be a new champion being crowned. Will it be Shane Gaffney, or will it be our winner from the other semifinal, Haley Aldworth? Find out right after this break.